Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? Another fun game here. Not quite the overtime thriller that we saw on Wednesday night between these two teams, but still a really good game that went down to the wire. Had strategy, had coaching, had shot making, had all sorts of stuff. Tons of stuff for us to dive into, and I'm excited to do it.
I think I'm so glad you brought up the strategy. You brought up everything. Obviously, Indiana is now up 2-0 following their victory against the New York Knicks. That victory was 114-109. Jalen Brunson has a shot at the end to potentially tie it, to get it to 110, I believe. And then the Pacers end up kind of making their free throws with Naismith and Turner down the stretch. Okay, so I think where I want to start is here. I texted this to the group, game theory group with you, GMAC, and I. I think coming into this series, I picked the Knicks in 7. I thought it was just going to be like an immaculate, incredible series. And frankly, like the first 2 games have delivered across the board in that respect. Like as somebody that is not like has no rooting interest here, this has been amazing. I've loved both of these games so far. I underestimated the level to which this is a coaching mismatch.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that it's more about Rick Carlisle than it is about Tibbs. We'll certainly talk about Tibbs as we go through this. But what Rick Carlisle is doing just to like dial up different looks, dial up different ways for the Pacers to take advantage of any mismatch that occurs at any given point in a single game is unbelievable. This is a masterful playoffs from him, like across the board, from the Bucks series to the Cavs series, now into the Knicks series. He's queued up different looks in terms of the ability for them to attack specific matchups, like in the fourth quarter. Really, in general, it's been a lot of empty side stuff against the Knicks with their guards, be it Nembhard, be it TJ McConnell, or be it Tyrese Halliburton. Certainly they do like to run Halliburton a little bit in the middle, I think, but the way that they're trying to find these mismatches and the way that they're successfully getting these mismatches, to me, is more of a credit to Rick Carlisle than it is like a slight against Tom Thibodeau. I have a whole lot of questions about what Tom Thibodeau is doing. I don't want to set those aside either, but Rick Carlisle has been unbelievable in this series. And I think that's where I want to start in terms of giving this team flowers. It's been incredible to watch.
Yeah, this was going to be my first pushback to something else you said in the group chat in terms of something you wanted to talk about in terms of how repeatable what Indiana has done. And I don't know if we're going to get into that tonight or down the road or whenever. And my first thing was going to be, okay, I understand what you're saying, but you better go find a top 5 coach in the NBA to make it work, because as awesome as this roster is, it's not just roll out the ball and let somebody ISO. No. And like, it's very strategic in everything they do. And the part I underappreciated, they're very versatile in what they do. They will get out in transition. They push pace. They take advantage of mismatches. They can run ball screens in the middle. They can run ball screens on the side. They can attack in true like ball screen. They can attack whenever there's a switch, like all sorts of things. And it's just like, this is really, really impressive. And so I'm with you. Like, I'm watching this tonight and going, it's not just their culture either. And the culture should be commended as well in terms of the relentlessness with they play and their buy-in to how they do things. But it's also the set actions. Here's what I love about Rick Carlisle. Pascal Siakam did not have a great game 1 offensively. It was very strategic. He didn't just have 40 tonight because 39, because he's awesome. That is partially why. They were very strategic in saying, we are going to go to Pascal. We are going to get him mid-post isolations against matchups he likes. So they do that.
Yeah.
They also do end of shot clock after Mitchell Robinson blocks a Tyrese Halliburton layup. They have a great baseline out of bounds designed action to get Aaron Naismith a 3-pointer from the corner that he knocks down. It's
by the way, calling out that action specifically, he saw, I think, that Mitchell Robinson had kind of twisted his ankle
and was gassed.
Reacted in that moment and was gassed and was like, okay, the best way for us to get a shot right now is we are going to run Aaron Nesmith on a cross screen across the baseline for Miles Turner to set a screen for him, so that the Knicks are in a terrible position where if I think it was it Brunson guarding him, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I was going to rewind to get all of the notes, and I ended up not doing it. I should have, but I didn't.
Yeah, where if Brunson gets screened, it's going to have to be Mitch that shoots out, and he's going to have to figure out how to get there on that ankle when he's wiped. It was the perfect set. He cues up the perfect set at every single moment.
Yeah, and I think his like substitutions and decision making is, I mean, they have a little bit of an issue at the big man position in terms of like,
massive issue.
I was trying to be nice after a win. You know, they had to go to Tony, and like people are going to go, Tony Bradley, really? And listen, Tony Bradley was not good in ball screen stuff tonight, but it was like they were getting destroyed by Mitchell Robinson on the boards. Like, I appreciate him at least trying something. But here's the thing. I've talked about this over and over. I think Dagnall does it with OKC as well. You know how many minutes Benedict Mathurin played tonight? 11. You know why? Because it wasn't very good. And even though he's been important for them, maybe this isn't the series for him. You know who played more minutes tonight? Ben Shepherd played 13 because he can give you a little bit on Jalen Brunson, and he had two of the biggest plays of the game. You tweeted them out. Empty side actions. He knocks down the three off the first one after relocating because Knicks defense got confused because they're horrible communicators, and it was a great action from Rick Carlisle. And then on the next one, something most people don't see, he cuts it the perfect time on the TJ McConnell drive, and Siakam gets a wide open three because Shepard's cut drew two to the lane.
It's exactly right. Yeah. And to me, like, I would love somebody to ask Rick Carlisle in the press conference if he drew that up as an idea, knowing that this is a chess match, right? So the way that the Knicks were guarding those empty side actions at first was they had Mitch overloading and coming across because they were hedging and recovering in the empty side ball screen with Towns. So Mitch comes across to try and take away the pick and pop from Miles Turner, basically. And then TJ McConnell has to just try and like turn the corner, basically. Yep. And if TJ turns the corner, you're kind of screwed if you're the Knicks at that point, because then somebody has to come over from the weak side to help. And at that point, if Ben Shepherd or whoever it is on the weak side, because Mitch started that possession guarding Robinson or Siakam, I'm sorry. And then it left Cam Payne as the 1-on-2 defender on the weak side. Payne had to stay with Siakam. That meant Mitch had to go out and find Ben Shepherd. Ben Shepherd's a genius. He comes out to the top of the key with his relocation, makes it the furthest possible closeout that he can get to from Mitchell Robinson, wide open three. And then the second one, I think that Rick thought that they were going to overload is why he did what he did. And he has the initial like ghost action for Siakam, for Shepherd to set the ghost and then come across and take a flare from Siakam. Siakam goes to the opposite wing. Then as the empty side action gets together with McConnell and Turner, they don't overload the action, but I think that Rick kind of thought they were going to, because he runs then another exchange with Siakam coming around or with Shepherd coming around Siakam on the weak side, cutting to the rim. I think he's assuming that Mitchell Robinson is going to be there and has to help anyway. And that there's one of two things that happens there. Either it has to be a switch from Cam Payne and you get the Cam Payne mismatch on Siakam, which is a huge win, or you get the miscommunication, which is ultimately what happened. And it's just a wide open, easy kick out for TJ McConnell to Siakam, who drills a three to put them up 9. I think that was the key run of the game right there. It went from 3 to 9 in just a flash, right? Like that.
And to, I guess, our point, as we've talked through this, it's very strategic in terms of the players you're using and when you run it. Because as you said, it seems like Tyrese is a little bit more wants to operate in the middle of the floor. Well, this action we're describing happens on the wing on a cleared outside. And you said it. if TJ McConnell's able to turn the corner and get downhill, well, what does TJ McConnell do best? Turn the corner and get downhill into the paint. And so this is where those little nuance things of who are the right guys to be in what spots. He didn't run that with Tyrese and Miles because Tyrese may have been a little more inclined to step back and look to take a three off of. No, this specific action was I need my guard to turn the corner off the hard hedge from Cat and get into the paint, and it's going to create what I want. That might be a better action in the McConnell minutes that we can manufacture really good offense with our all NBA players sitting on the bench. Like, it's just really, really smart. And again, the word that continues to hit with me is strategic. It's like every decision is so strategic in terms of when, how, who, how are we going to attack? It's just really, really good. He's been really impressive.
I completely agree. The second point here that I want to talk about is Tibbs. I do not think Tibbs has been very good in this series with his rotations.
Agreed.
More than anything.
Yep.
Coming into this game, and look, I would imagine that it was terrible again, given the fact that the first stretch with the starters was, I think the Pacers were up like 6 or 8 whenever Mitch came in for Towns right around the 4-minute mark of the first quarter. And then I think it was like a -6 or so in the start of the third quarter when the starters were out there against Indiana starters. At some point, I do think they have to break up the starting lineup. In the playoffs so far, the Knicks are a -8 coming into tonight in terms of net rating. It's just not good enough. They have played the most minutes of any lineup in the playoffs so far. Towns, Anunoby, Hart, Bridges, Brunson. They have a 108 offensive rating and a 116.5 defensive rating, and I'm betting both of those numbers got worse tonight. The starters for the Pacers, by the way, are a +19 in the playoffs. Turner, Siakam, Nembhard, Halliburton, Nesmith. You look at OKC starters. Those guys are a +5. You look at the Denver starters. Those guys were a +11. You look at the Minnesota starters so far. They're a +18. Even like the Houston starters were a +10 in that series, right? If your starters aren't successful, you need to make an adjustment. To me, if I was them, the adjustment would be that I would go McBride for Hart, personally. I worry a little bit too much about going with, I worry a little bit about Mitch being able to like run out 35 minutes or whatever, right? Like Mitch played 29 tonight and looked a little bit gassed. I would like to keep him to the bench to be able to like keep his energy right for when he gets to attack bench units, and particularly gets to attack Thomas Bryant and potentially Tony Bradley, depending on what's going on with Thomas Bryant's hand. I like the idea of Mitch creating second chance opportunities against their bench unit. I thought that Deuce's first little run in the second quarter tonight, or really at the end of the first quarter, going into the second quarter, I thought he was amazing. I thought he was like kind of the critical guy that got them going. If you look at the plus-minus tonight, I know single game plus-minus, what to do with it. He was +6 in a game that they lost by 5, right? In Towns, by the way, there's going to be questions about Towns sitting in this game. Towns is -20 tonight. And I think that Tibbs kind of put Towns into some tough spots, honestly, on defense. Like, he was very comfortable switching Towns out onto Halliburton. Yeah. And I thought that was just like a disastrous idea, because every time that he got a switch, Halliburton was attacking him, and he was either creating a same side kick out because they feel like they have to help sometimes from the same side to help out Towns, or he was just getting by Towns, or he was getting a step back 3. Like, that's the reality. And Halliburton didn't even play well tonight. He shot 5 for 16. Like, I don't totally blame Towns for that -20 number, but I didn't think Towns was great tonight in terms of the way he defended. So yeah. I kind of understand them going with Mitch on some level. But to close this, like, I think they need to make a change with the starting lineup at this point and need to make some sort of little adjustment. And to me, the easiest adjustment is Deuce for Hart, because it's not like the Pacers backcourt is enormous anyway between Nembhard and Halliburton.
Yeah, I think, like, I'm fine with this. I'm not as like adamant as You know, like I know GMAC has been on this even before this series. You know, it's like Knicks people that I follow and talk to and whatever. Like this isn't a new thing after 2 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. This is something that's been talked about for a while because the starting lineup hasn't been good since like, or has like been very average since January 1st or something like that. I think I would at least like to see him be less rigid in terms of his rotation. Like even if he wants to start, like, even if he feels obligated, and I know people don't want to hear this, and I understand it, but like, even if he wants to stay with Josh Hart because he feels like that's like, I want to stay with my starting lineup. You know, like sometimes as coaches,
like that stuff is important. It does matter if you feel like Josh Hart's going to lose confidence if you take him out in some way. Like, that is important.
So play him 4 minutes and then make a sub. But like, I thought in the third quarter, he stayed. I just kept waiting for the sub and waiting for the sub. And I think it went to commercial. I was like, okay, he's definitely going to do it now. Like they definitely need a jolt of energy. Like, and I don't think, I think why I would want to do that, Sam, is I don't think Deuce has been great for extended stretches of play in these 2 games, but he's had small sequences that have been awesome in both games, including he was the spark plug tonight. I just think they need the spark plug earlier. So start the same rotate, but then bring Deuce in 4 minutes in, and then bring Mitch in a few minutes later. And then you can bring Josh back for OG, you know, like, it just seems very rigid. And so I am with you in the sense of the rotations have to be different. There has to be a little bit more to them, whether that's just straight up changing the starting lineup. I'll hear it out. Again, I would rather just limit how long you start each half. But if you feel like you need a great start to the game, cool. Okay, I understand it, but I am 100% on board. I thought he stayed with the starters for too long. Then I thought he stayed with the bench for too long. And then I was like, okay, even if you're pissed at Cat, Mitchell Robinson is standing at the not the free throw line, but like to check out with his hands on his knees. Like he's exhausted. I'm like, he obviously is like done right here. You like put him Precious if you like are pissed at Cat or whatever, but Mitch is cooked right now. And what I'm nervous is Mitch going to end up being cooked for game 3 because he's been so important for this team, and you ran him into the ground. And I understand wanting to keep him out there.
And he twisted his ankle as well.
And he twisted his ankle,
contesting Halliburton at the rim.
Yeah. So like now that makes me a little bit nervous. So I'm with you. And also the defensive stuff. It's like they can only do one thing. Either we're gonna not switch and we're gonna fight everything, or we're gonna switch everything, and they just like bounce back and forth but from one game to the next. I'm like, can we keep them guessing a little bit? Like, okay, let's switch here for a little bit. Okay, it seemed like they've got a rhythm. All right, let's fight over the top. And I don't know. And then the off-ball defense and communication stuff drives me crazy.
Oh, it's so bad. There was one that I think it was in the fourth quarter where Turner got like a wide open 3, and Anunoby like just had the easiest like help side rotation, just like one man over, and he just didn't make it. And you could see Bridges get super frustrated with him because, you know, and on some level I do kind of get it because Siakam is cooking them by getting different mismatch opportunities. Like I didn't think OG played well defensively tonight, to be sure, but a lot of Siakam's buckets were not necessarily on OG. They were on different mismatches that he was creating.
Or they were tough buckets on OG. Like early on, I thought OG forced him into tough contested makes.
Yeah, I think that's dead on. So like, I'm kind of looking at this from a few different angles and thinking, man, like their off-ball communication is just like a total train wreck right now, it feels like. And again, like to me, I feel like Deuce at least came in and like brought energy in some way. But your point is right though. I think maybe it's not change the starters. Maybe it's reduce or like, you know, shorter leash for the starters and be willing to be more flexible in terms of your rotations. Maybe it's you bring Deuce at the 8-minute mark of the first quarter as opposed to the 4-minute mark. Maybe it's you bring Mitch at the 8-minute mark of the first quarter instead of the 4-minute mark. And then you bring Towns back to play against the bench and play against like Thomas Bryant or Tony Bradley, both of whom we know are going to struggle in space to guard. Right.
Yeah.
So that to me, just getting more flexible rotationally, you're dead on. It's not necessarily that you have to change the starters. It's that you have to move your rotations around in terms of when guys are coming in and out.
I love that. I really like, because I am very nervous about saying I want the two big lineup against the Pacers starters, because it's like, who's guarding Siakam in that scenario? Like, where are the matchups that you like with that? But I like the idea of bring Mitch in earlier, and then you can play the two big lineup whenever the Pacers go to their bench potentially. You know, like, it just sit down and figure some of that stuff out in terms of, okay, can we get Cat against the second unit now? I think rigid is the word that keeps coming to mind. And I assume any Knicks fans that are listening are going to be like, well, that is Tibbs. Like, that is what Tibbs does. And it's probably not going to change, but I would really, really like to see that. I also want to say one other thing. I so much appreciate that the Pacers and their like sole focus on pushing pace. There was a sequence tonight where there was some sort of transition. I don't remember how it started off, some sort of turnover, and they gave up a transition layup. And they knew they were going to give up the transition layup. It was a run out. And they didn't sulk. They didn't walk back. Tyrese Halliburton sprinted back, not to contest the transition layup. He sprinted back to get that ball out of the net, out of bounds, kick it ahead, and they immediately went the other way and got a bucket and answered it right away. And I was like, that's the buy-in to the culture and the scheme and the philosophy, one. And two, for any coaches out there at any level, you can push pace out of any situation. It doesn't always end up in transition, but you can push pace if that's truly what your philosophy wants to be. And that possession, that sequence, like, proved it more than anything.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Again, I feel like we're beating a dead horse. Like, we have talked about this Pacers team since like February. I feel like, in terms of them just being like an absolute wagon, and being awesome and being absolutely miserable to play against in the playoffs. Like, we knew that this team was going to be absolutely dreadful to play against. Yeah. Like, that was the reality. They've created the exact kind of team that is hard to play against in a 7-game series because of the way that they create mismatches. And it's bearing itself out in a real way, especially against this Knicks team that has mismatches to exploit. Like, that is the reality of this team.
I don't want to jump the gun at all here, Sam. I'm not saying this series is over. I'm not saying the other series is over. I would be lying if I didn't say that I found myself going, Pacers Thunder would be an absolute blast, because the word that comes to mind for both of those teams for me is relentless. And I'm like, you play relentless against relentless. I'm not saying either of these series is over. I'm not ready for them to be over. I'm still excited for hopefully 7 games of Knicks Pacers. I hope we get it, because these two have been awesome. I'm a little less sure we're going to get 7 on the other side, but I can't help but find myself drifting to sign me up for that, because that would be awesome.
Just a few other things here. Like, we brought up, Pascal Siakam's name a couple of times through our conversation here, but the rebound to have 39 points on 15 of 23. He had 18, I think, of their first 28 points. He was completely dominant from the jump in this game. And again, they really decided to get him involved. They used different actions to be able to get him the mismatches that they wanted. Was really, really sharp. Just amazing in this game. Real quick, I loved everything I saw from him.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the versatility of his scoring tonight. Like, he showed the full package. He got out in transition. He had mid-post isolations. He posted mismatches. He posted out a designed action. He hit catch-and-shoot threes. I thought it was an incredible offensive game from Pascal.
Yeah, completely agree. Neesmith, again, just continues to at least make Brunson work when he's on the court. But, again, Jalen Brunson tonight was terrific. He had 36 points, 11 assists, 3 turnovers, shot 13 of 27, only got to the line 5 times. Brunson was a monster in this game. He was so good in every quarter. It didn't matter. He was just relentless and consistent throughout the entire game. Mikal Bridges picked it up later on in the game, which was really important for the Knicks. I think they have to figure out what's going on defensively with their communication in terms of Anunoby and Towns. And look, again, we kind of picked it at the start of this thing, right? The biggest key to this series is what happens when the Knicks get cross-matched in transition.
Yep.
Can they talk through it? Can they communicate their actions? Can they figure out what they need to do? And it continues to be a problem.
Yeah, because how do you feel? I feel like Bridges has done decent on Halliburton whenever he's been able to get matched on him and stay on him. Like
tonight, I thought he did.
Yeah. So here's a really to your point right here. In 3 minutes and 30 to go in the fourth quarter, Indiana does what? They push pace. What they get is they get a cross match of Jalen Brunson on Siakam. They don't even take advantage of that. What they get is a wide open Aaron Nesmith 3 that he misses, but because Brunson is cross match on Siakam, Siakam gets the offensive rebound, fouled, gets to the free throw line. Like that is the stuff that happens. It's like, offensive rebound, but it's because of how they play and New York's inability to sprint back. And it's not just about getting matched up, Sam. That's what we talked about. It's not good enough to just get back and get 5-on-5. You have to get back and you have to get the right matchups, because if you have the wrong matchups, very few teams take advantage of that better and quicker than what the Pacers do.
Just a couple of random notes here before we move on. I think that I'm good with the campaign minutes at this point. I think I'm just good on them.
Yeah.
There's just I almost refuse to believe that Tyler Kolek can be worse than this. Honestly,
sure.
-9 tonight in 9 minutes, and you could feel it. You could really feel it.
It's a mistake waiting to happen. Like the variance of results is catastrophic to maybe he bangs a couple shots and that saves the minutes. But I'm essentially play DeLon, or at least DeLon Wright would be better defensively if you wanted to go somewhere. But yeah, I'm cool.
Still no Jarris Walker minutes in the series, which is interesting. The fact they went to Tony Bradley just as the big when Bryant went out, that was really interesting to me. Miles Turner, I think, deserves a lot of love for the second half.
Yeah.
I thought he did not look good in the first half.
No.
I texted, I think he looks really hurt, actually. Sure. Genuinely is not moving well. And obviously he went down the tunnel there in the first quarter too. But in the second half, man, whatever happened, I thought he was incredible, finding his spots out of pick and pops, being able to attack off the bounce, made a couple of huge shots, obviously makes 2 free throws at the end.
The corner 3, he had a corner 3 as well off a driving kick that was big.
Massive corner 3. That was the breakdown with Anunoby and Bridges that I talked about earlier. Didn't rebound the ball crazy well. Honestly, the Knicks, I felt did a great job on the glass in this game, but his ability to contest on the interior, I thought was really, really good. Yeah, I think Turner looks not even fully healthy, but he's just kind of being a warrior out there, and I respect the shit out of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was good to see that because, like I said, I thought he's had a really good playoff. I've really been singing his praises, and I didn't think he was great in game 1. I thought he's had struggle with Cat. And then, like you said, in the first half, again, it was like, man, this is not good. And he came back and had a quality second half for them, which is encouraging. Also, real quick, Andrew Nembhard just does exactly what we always talk about Andrew Nembhard doing. He makes momentum shots. Defenses have to figure this out. You have to have a feel for these moments in the first quarter, in the second quarter, start of quarters, end of quarters. Andrew Nembhard is coming to make a play, and it's probably defensively as well. I don't think he's been great on Brunson. That's the one thing that's probably been a little bit not great for him. Brunson's incredible, so I'm not going to hold that against him a lot. But it's you have to have a feel for this. He made big shots in overtime of game 1, plus the steal that eventually kind of sealed the game. Or I guess he didn't steal it. It ended up in a turnover, but he forced it. He's so much better than he's so much more impactful than the box score. The box score says he was -1, 12, 3, 2, and 1. I don't care. He is much more impactful than what that says.
Totally agree. And the big thing, again, that we kind of talk about with the Pacers all the time is just pushing pace, right? He allows them to always push pace.
Yeah.
You can find an outlet to one of him or Halliburton. He is a point guard. That is the thing. He's genuinely a point guard, which means that he is capable of figuring out where guys need to be, being able to push pace, being able to get guys in the right spots consistently. Like, this is a dude that ran probably like a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio at Gonzaga. Like, he was unreal. And they push pace too. They play an incredibly fast tempo.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, because whenever you want to play pace, you got to be able to have more than one guy. You got to have guys that can, grab and go off a board or outlet, because what do teams do to slow down Indiana's pace? They try to deny Hallie the ball. You'll see it after makes all the time. Like, whoever's guarding Halliburton will go find him. Well, okay, we'll throw it to Nembhard and feel perfectly fine him dribbling it up and attacking and starting offense as well. So just, yeah. He's really good too.
Yep, I agree. Okay, that's all I've got on this game. Are you out of things on this game? I mean, we're at the point where we think the Pacers win the series, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's just a 2-0 lead. They have multiple games of home court advantage now. They've been great on the road. Just a really, really tough team to deal with at the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah. Still in 2 on the road is impressive. It's an impressive 2 wins. I know New York kind of was really good through most of game 1, but Sam, we talk about it all the time. That's why you can't drop that game. And I tried to make the point, like, hey, we'll all forget about this if New York comes back and wins the series. But I also said, if New York doesn't come back and win the series, then we're really going to continue to point to game 1. And that's why you can't let that happen, is because then you have a 40-point Pascal Siakam game and a not great Cat game, and then you've lost another one. And where's the Halliburton game coming? And all, like, it just, you can't lose ones that you absolutely should win. And unfortunately, New York did, and it put them in a major hole.
It's absolutely right.